All right, welcome in. It is Friday. We've made it to the end of week one of Full Court Press. I was told, guys, by someone that watched the Total Bases show regularly that we did one time during the season hit 3 parlays in a week. So this is our chance to top it. If you're new here, by the end of the show, we do a parlay that we put together, and we've hit 3 of the 4 so far since the inception of the show on Monday. So we're very excited about that. Very good. Almost like don't know if we'll top it the rest of the year, but we're very excited about that. And we are trying to go 4 for 5 on 3-teamers this week, which would truly be an accomplishment. So stay with us for the next hour. If you've got a game you want to talk about, jump in the comments and let us know. But we're not going to waste any more time. There's a million games, and we've got to start things off in Chapel Hill. I love that. You know, I'm fine with the made-for-TV stuff. I'm fine with these, like, games being played in Vegas, but, like, this is what I'm talking about. Give me Kansas, North Carolina at the Dean Dome, a true home game for North Carolina, and the clear marquee game of the night. So we'll welcome in Rob Vino. Kick us off. Kansas UNC. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I'm having a problem with the headset here, guys. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Is it bad?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, the first thing that, of course, they both have a game under their belt. Let's start with that. They almost won by identical scores. Kansas beats Green Bay 94-51. UNC beat Central Arkansas 94-54. They gave up 3 more points. You go through these teams, guys, the first thing I found was there's a significant age gap in these teams. KU, top 7 in their rotation the other night, featured 3 freshmen, 5 underclassmen. It's not necessarily a veteran ball club here. UNC, on the other hand, their top 7, they have 1 freshman out there with 5 upperclassmen. Now, the 2 freshmen that are going to be in this game for each side are pretty highly touted. For KU, Darren Peterson actually scored 21 in his first game. He's widely projected to be a lottery pick. Some list him as top 3 high school recruit in the country, but he proved it opening night. For KU, 7 of 11 shooting, 21 points, went to the free throw line 4 times, made all 4. For UNC, Caleb Wilson is their 5-star recruit. 6'9" guy, played pretty well opening day as well. But when I look at this roster construction again, Kansas didn't do well in the portal by major conference team standards, especially by Kansas standards. I think I saw a ranking of 43 in the portal rankings. And again, Peterson's great, but they only hit on 1 recruit really where 5 stars are concerned. The backcourt here looks pretty solid. Adam, guy you're probably really familiar with, Melvin Council, St. Bonnie kid, walks in, plays the most minutes of anybody on the team in that opener. So the minutes were pretty well dispersed. Let me just lay that out first for folks watching. Both of these teams went fairly deep, a lot of double-digit minutes, little experimentation going on. Trey White is here, comes over from Illinois. They return Elmarco Jackson. He's a former 5-star. The backcourt, to me, for Kansas looks like it can be okay. I'm not all that concerned, but it's the front court where you basically have Bedunga, who played well, 23 points, 9 of 11 from the field first game. But other than that, there's not a lot of front court talent here at Kansas, size or talent. They did bring in Paul Mbaya, who, quoting Bill Self here now, got him late in the summer. Bill Self says, immediate impact player. Well, immediate impact player was like the 10th man off the bench for 8 minutes in Monday's game. That's not an immediate impact player. So I worry a little bit about Kansas across the front. For UNC, we've talked all week, guys, about cohesion, these teams losing players. UNC loses 8 of their top 9 scorers. Only Seth Trimble's back. However, Henri Vassar for Arizona walks in 7'7". You know, Hubert Davis, he had mentioned in an article that I read, his main goal was to get bigger. UNC, I think we all watched them enough last year. They were too small, and they wanted to get bigger. Vassar comes in right away, 14 and 10, double-double in his opening game. That's going to help. They go to Alabama to get a stretch forward, Jaron Stevenson, double-digit minutes each of the last 2 years. So they're picking up these veteran guys. But the most important was probably Kyan Evans, I think everybody remembers the Colorado State amazing run in the NCAA tournament last year. And Evans was the leader at point guard of that team, not the top player, but the leader at point. So hopefully that settles some things down for North Carolina. Again, I would just preface it all by saying how quickly can they gel? I don't know how much you guys want to put into these 40-point or, huge wins by each side on Monday night. I'm going to say this. The game's going to be played at a rapid pace. UNC, it was a 75-possession game. KU, the possessions were only down because they scored every time they had the ball. When you shoot 72% from two-point range, not going to be a lot of possessions. So it's going to be played at kind of a track pace. The total has been bumped 6.5 points, 152.5, all the way to 159. I worry about Kansas being led by so many freshmen in Chapel Hill here. Can they get it done in that environment? That's going to be a question mark for me. So even though North Carolina might not be fully cohesive yet, 1.5 points, I'm going to lean towards that side to win by a bucket. And I guess if I had to, Adam, I think you stated yesterday, some of these totals have gone way, way, way like fishing line and just running, and yet they still get there, including one of our parlays last night, one piece of our parlay last night. So I would probably try a little bit of over, but I think UNC is where I'd lean a little stronger.
Yeah, I would concur. And, it's tough. You peel open the box scores from the respective first games, right? Okay, number one, Kansas dominates. I don't put a lot into that because, look, as long as Green Bay is coached by Doug Gottlieb, that's just a program that's not going to go anywhere. I'm sorry. It just is. The Trent Dilfer of college basketball is how I refer to him. Can't call him that anymore because Trent Dilfer got 86. But, you just look at the numbers. Rob mentioned Kansas going down the floor. Scoring almost each and every time. Just to put some numbers to it, they shoot almost 57% from the field, almost 37% from three. They hold Green Bay below 30% shooting overall. North Carolina, it's a similar story, better than 50% overall, almost 35% from three. They hold Central Arkansas to, again, just over 30%. Put up, 1.25 points per possession, North Carolina. Again, take it with a grain of salt, given who the opponent is. I think Rob nailed the key to the handicap. We talk about it in football a lot, whether it's on the show I do the Blitz on Thursdays, and all of us talk about it on various appearances. Whenever you have a true freshman making his first road start, that's typically a spot where people look to fade in football. And here, what do we have? A young team going on the road early in the year. I agree that I would play North Carolina as a small favorite here. For what it's worth, North Carolina, the last 5 teams, and this goes back like a long time, but, I don't know if there's going to be any motivation for, Hubert. A couple of these losses came under Hubert Davis, but North Carolina, it's been a long time since they've beaten Kansas. I mean, they've lost to them 5 straight times. That goes back to the game that got Billy Packer fired from CBS, where he exclaimed, "This game is over" in the first 3 minutes, and CBS got really mad at him. I'm sure there's somebody in the comment section that has to remember that. But yeah, I'm on the Tar Heels here as a short favorite. Kansas, there's no shame in a loss for Kansas. I don't think it'll necessarily tell us much about Kansas' big picture if they lose this game. I would expect them to lose going, cross country.
Yeah, not a ton to add to that. For me, it's like, so I'll point out a couple things. The first thing, I just want to point out the board lighting up on this game. There's a couple books that continue to go to 3.5, and then it's like instantly Kansas's bet, which makes sense at that number. So you've got a couple of the more popular books continue to push this to 3.5. Every time it gets to 3.5, some probably sharp group is hitting Kansas. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. When Rob and I were talking, it literally was 1.5 to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Those numbers are all gone now. Yeah. And so,
no, they're not, though. That's the thing. Like some of these other, so if you get,
okay, I see it too.
I think they're gone at most of like the legals, like the super popular shops, like the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the MGMs, the Caesars. But like some of these other like lesser known books are just still sitting at 1.5. And Kansas keeps getting hit at like 3.5 and 3. I think that's probably makes some sense. Like I think you're going to see, respected money on both sides of this game. For me, I made the number pick, but I'm with you guys in the respect that I really don't want to go. I don't want to back Kansas on the road at the Dean Dome, a whiteout. I heard it's going to be, live crowd. I don't trust this Kansas team enough to do that. And they're not deep enough either. So it's like, they have Badunga and Peterson, who both had really good games in the opener. Rob, you're 100% right. I'm a big Melvin Council guy. He was also at Wagner. He took Wagner to the NCAA tournament 2 years ago before his year at St. Bonaventure. I've always been a big fan of him. He is
a great Wagner team.
Yes, 6 guys. There were 6 guys on that team, and now we know their coach didn't let him drink any water. We know that as well. But the point is with Council, he's a really good. He's always was a really good just creator, shot maker, do it all yourself type guy at Wagner, and he did a lot of that for the Bonnies. A lot tougher to do that when you step up and play teams like North Carolina or do it for a team like Kansas, and you get outside those 3, and I have concerns about their depth. So that's where I'm going to leave it. There's more to talk about tonight. I'll sort of defer to you guys on that one. I just don't have a super strong opinion.
I just want to double check something really quick. I don't think foolish. DraftKings right now still has North Carolina minus 122 on the money line, which is
that's what I'm saying.
Which is notably different because everywhere else, North Carolina, you're going to find it's minus 1. I'm looking, unless you guys see something different, minus 130, minus 140. So we're talking about how there is, people are hitting Kansas when it gets up. I don't know. Maybe it's a case of overthinking it, but minus 122 on the money line, that's not a bad deal. I would play that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's probably, I feel like this probably ends up closing in the 2.5, 3 range for North Carolina. So if you can get a UNC money line minus 120 to minus 125 and you like that side, I think that's probably a reasonable play. Duffel. No, this is much harder than total bases. Much, much harder. By week 3 of Major League Baseball, I can talk about those teams blindfolded, eyes closed, don't really need to look at anything. I could probably do the show in my sleep. This is so much more challenging. We have and we love that. Look at all the games on the board today to come in and make sure I have something to say with the 3 of us, putting our efforts together to make sure we have something to say about any game that you possibly ask about is a challenge. So no, this is much tougher than the Total Bases show to do, but I love college basketball. We love doing it. And so get those comments in the chat. I want to go to a game. My guy Keith Bayou bets Landry and quite a few other ones. Oh, Duffel also says, can we get BP to drink some Fireball during the show? Listen, we're all on East Coast time. It is 10 a.m. Tokyo Brandon cracks that Fireball at 11 p.m. Tokyo time. So I don't think we're going to be doing any Fireball shot. Yeah. Brian and I might do a little, we might post ourselves doing a little drink at the Toledo game. What are those called that we're going to have? A rocket launch? Rocket launcher?
God, what was it? I looked it up. Yeah, they had some branded seltzer. Yeah, there's all these please. Again,
we'll see they're rocket launchers. That's what we're going to have tomorrow afternoon. Launcher,
yes, they had their own seltzer. Yes, in the building. I'll probably try that.
Yeah, I'll probably try that as well. Looking forward to that. Keith Bayou bets Landry says Georgetown outright, my man. Good little rivalry game there. Yeah, it is nice to have this game, be a little bit more meaningful than it's been in I feel like past years, because Georgetown is starting to resemble that of a respectable basketball team. Of course, Maryland is very much back, but I'll go to Rob here real quick and we'll talk about this game. Maryland's interesting because for me, I look at this team and I love Buzz Williams. I've always been a Buzz Williams guy. So any team that he coaches, I'm always going to gravitate toward. But we have such a new roster. We have a couple of players that didn't play in the opener. So, the 2 that I wrote down was Solomon Washington and Miles Rice. I think I saw Rice will probably play. But the point is, there's a lot of moving parts right now for Maryland. Does that number seem big to either of you? I'll let Rob start.
I think the opener did, Adam, but they've gotten to the Georgetown side, right? 8.5, shoot all the way down to 5.5 now. In a simplistic form, I would say the same thing as you about Buzz Williams coming in, trying to reestablish Maryland. But on the other hand, Ed Cooley's second year there at Georgetown, I think things are much better in place for him. They gave up 70 in that first game, which you never know how serious it's being taken when you're supposed to win, but they scored 87. My first inclination here, Adam, honestly, was to try and play this game under, but then I saw Georgetown, whip out 87 points, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm on the wrong end of my analysis here. But as common as it is from what we've said about a bunch of games through 4 days this week, you would think that the Maryland issue would be trying to get everybody, Buzz Williams has a style that's kind of unique, to tell you the truth. And you just don't walk into a program, and he didn't just walk into A&M and they were A&M right off the bat. It took him a while to get it to be played his way, his guys, his everything. And I think Ed Cooley's got an edge there. And I'd also say this, to me, Georgetown's going to be the hungrier team in this game. Georgetown's trying to reestablish and some sort of national attention, even East Coast attention, but to spread nationally. They want to be known again, where Maryland is just in, I've said these words too a couple of times this week, experimentation, evaluation process. I think for Buzz Williams, it's still evaluation. He'll use Ed Cooley's defenses can be very funky for teams to go up against. I would lean Georgetown here, but I just don't like the fact that it's already down to 5.5. Guys who got it at the opener, I think, got the right price. And closing line value sometimes ends up in the garbage can, but I think it's good here.
Yeah, I would concur with what seems to be the general sentiment, not just Rob, but our chat, that Georgetown's the right side here, but I am a little concerned we've already missed the best of the number. Maryland, an unproven entity. I understand why people would want to bet against them here. Interesting, though, because, we've talked about, we were talking about in the world of totals, how these totals have moved, and it hasn't mattered what number you've bet at, whether you bet it at 6 in the morning or 6 in the evening. You're a winner in some of these regards. I will say one thing about the Georgetown side, that something else that makes it appealing. They won the opener despite shooting 4 of 26 from 3.
Yeah.
Now, they might just be a bad 3-point shooting team. You have to be careful, but that's something I always look at. I mentioned it on yesterday's show, that 3-point variance is a big deal. To me, I generally like to back teams after a bad shooting night from 3 and like to fade them after a hot shooting night from 3. Is it that an 100% deal? No, of course not. Nothing's 100%. But if Georgetown's able to put some points on the board despite making only 4 of 26 from 3, you got to think they're going to shoot better from downtown here, and that it would be dog or pass. Again, though, maybe play it a little smaller at the current number. See if it gets bet back up. Who knows? We just talked about North Carolina, Kansas, right, Trigg? That, hey, North Carolina is getting bet up, then Kansas gets hit. It comes down. So I would say monitor the line. You might be able, this might come back up a little bit and then fire. 6 would be nice. It would be nice to get a set, that 2 possessions or even 6.5.
Yeah, that's the only other thing I was going to add was that Georgetown missed a lot of shots against a Morgan State team that is probably one of the worst 10 teams in the country this year. So that's a little bit concerning, but how organized will Maryland be? Obviously, those Texas A&M teams under Buzz were great rebounding teams, but that requires organization and maybe a little bit of time. So probably one I just sort of casually watch. I don't know if I'll have a play there, but I think you guys make great points. All right, Garth, thank you very much. We very much appreciate the donation to the show. We also appreciate likes, subscribes, and you guys just simply tuning in. It was going to help us grow this show. That's our goal, to just to get as many eyes on this as possible and try to help you find winners. But we will absolutely talk about your game here. And this is actually a game that I don't think I'm going to have a play here, but this will be one that, these are two teams that I always kind of follow. I got to go out to Grand Canyon last year and get to a game. I can tell you that that's going to be a tremendous atmosphere tonight. And, for me, like this one, I came right out on the number. Just bear with me for a sec. I have notes all over the place, and I still handwrite my notes out. I'm old school like that. I can't type up notes. So, I've just got chicken scratch all over the place.
I struggle with my hand. Yeah. My hand gets tired when I sign a check.
See, now that's the thing. I haven't wrote a check in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually signed a check in quite some time.
Yeah.
But I do write my notes out every day.
Mm-hmm.
And for this one, for me, it just came out right on the number. I had Grand Canyon minus 15. It's 14.5. Listen, Youngstown State. I know Brian will probably have a close eye on Youngstown State this year. That's a Horizon League team. I know he watches that league close.
We've been there.
I like what we have been there. That's a story for another time.
Yes.
That is a story for another time. That was probably one of the oddest experiences I've had at any place yet. But yes, a good time right there. I like this Penguins team though. Like they've got a lot. Like they might win the Horizon this year. This is a league that's a little bit down from what it's been. And Jared Calhoun obviously leaves there. They were always going to have to like sort of reorganize. He was there for like 7 years. And of course that last Youngstown team that he had was probably the best one that they maybe ever had there, or at least in recent memory. But I think Youngstown is going to be good. Pitt, the game they played in the opener against Pitt, they ended up not covering that game. They were also a 14.5 point underdog at Pitt. And that was Pitt just pulling away right at the end of that game. I think that was a more competitive game than the final score. It was a 6-point game at half. I think Youngstown might maybe even led a little bit in the first half. So for me, what's tough here, GCU Arena is going to be popping. The Havocs, they call them, Brian, are the fans there. They're awesome. It's a cross-country trip for Grand Canyon. So I lean toward GCU winning this game by margin. Garth, your question of Grand Canyon minus 13.5, I think that's getting to the territory. If you can get a 13 or a 13.5, I think it's starting to get playable right there. I make the number 15. There wasn't enough value for me to bet it that I want, with all the other games on the board, but I slightly lean your way. So I'll say Grand Canyon is the side I'd be on there at 13.5 if you can get that number.
I don't have a ton on this one. I thought it was right on the number as well. Like my number's pretty much there, and I didn't see a ton of value or anything that really actually stuck out that made me want to bet this game. I don't know if Rob has something for the people, but this was
we'll move on to a different one. I want to
okay.
It's Swizz. Swizz says Adam's too young to know about a checkbook. I'm going to be 40 in July. A lot of people think I'm younger than that. They're the baby face, but I'll be 40 in July. So I do remember the checkbook. I just don't. I don't remember the last time I actually wrote a check. Like someone was like, "Hey, bring a check," So, Lori says Toledo, Ohio here. Weather is terrible. Yeah, I don't know. Brian's already out in Ohio. Are you getting bad weather today or something? I mean, I just assume that the drive on I-90 once you get to like Erie, Pennsylvania, is going to be miserable regardless. So
it looked a little. The sky was getting a little dark here before I have the window blacked out, so I can't even look out there right now in here. So after I'm done, I'll double check, but it didn't look like it was going to be a great day.
Colin, I'll throw Colin says anything on UT San Antonio, SIU Edwardsville. So I know the reason he's asking is because this is a day game, and we have 2 daytime tips. I have an opinion on the other one, so I'll just throw this out, and you can feel free to just say, no, I've got nothing, because I know that these are very niche games, but I will throw out Columbia, New Haven, and SIUE, Texas, San Antonio to either of you. It's totally fine to pass because I've got an opinion on the Columbia game, but if you want to throw anything out for the people looking for some degenerate day action, now is your chance to do it.
I'll concede the floor to Rob.
Yeah, you're silent. I will say this, Adam. SIU Edwardsville, while I don't have anything pertinent to say, I don't want to lead people in the wrong direction in these games, but SIU Edwardsville is a team because Belmont played a lot of Ohio Valley basketball that I will during the year likely have a lot to say about. But in this particular game, I'm just staring at it now, the number, because I had it scratched off from 48 up to 52, 53 and a half, and somewhere in there. Really, I can't steer anybody in a positive direction there, so I'm going to hold off on that. But like I said, SIU Edwardsville is a team that you give us about a month, and I'll have a little to say on them. UTSA is not a bad squad either, but I'll pass on that one.
So, Colin, I will trade you the SIU Edwardsville game, which I don't have much of an opinion on. My number was very close, for something I did play that's also an afternoon game. So I laid, and now it's looking like I got a pretty good number, but I laid 5.5 with Columbia. It's a 1 p.m. game. They are at New Haven. That's a 3% play for me. I'm not going to put it in the parlay because of a little thing we like to call shelf life. It's a 1:00 game.
Yeah.
And by the time some people see this show, we might be done with that game. So,
Mhm.
but I did play it at 5.5, which is where it was about an hour ago. So just to give you an idea of the betting sort of how it went, we had Columbia opened 6.5, got bet up to 7, maybe like overnight to 7, got someone probably took New Haven. I don't know if it was a fake or a setup, but knocked it all the way down to 5.5. And now it looks like we're back at 6.5 or 7 most places. So I want to talk about this game because this is a very interesting sort of look ahead spot for a team that just came to Division One. So New Haven, now someone's going to need to explain. I actually know why and how this happened. I didn't until the other day I read about it. New Haven has a home game at 1:00 tomorrow against Penn State. That's right. The Penn State, the Nittany Lions from State College are going to New Haven to play a road game at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Now that, to me, I mean, that would be the equivalent of them coming here to play Lemoyne, like in a glorified high school gym. I read about this, and basically Mike Rhodes, Penn State head coach, is giving them the game so they don't have to pay them, I believe, to come back. It's almost like a way that he's saving a little bit of coin for the athletic department. They're going to play a game on the road, and then I think New Haven will give them a game the next couple of years, but they won't have to cut like the big buy game check for it. So I don't know if this is like how we pay players now, like, go on the road and play a road game against a mid-major so you don't have to pay them the next year. But anyway, that is the basis of why that game's occurring. Interesting to me that they've also scheduled a game today, also at a 1:00 start, where they will play Columbia. Brian Power, does that sound like a little bit of a look-ahead spot to you? I mean,
It does.
Right? Like, you got a home
It
game
does, yes,
against a Big Ten team. Last year, you were in Division II. Life comes at you fast. Like, now you're going to be hosting a Big Ten team. They also played UConn on Monday. So, like, we got to get, happy birthday to Marco. It was Marco D'Angelo's birthday the other day. This sounds like a sandwich spot that he likes to talk about right here, where they just played their first ever Division I game on Monday against UConn. It was on the road. I'm sure they got beat up a little bit, right? Like, it's a physical game. You got Penn State coming to town tomorrow, which is obviously going to be the game that you're more jazzed up for. Big Ten team coming to play in your little gym. But you still have to play a Columbia team that, in my opinion, is a lot better than you are, right? Like, Columbia didn't work out for them last year. Their best player was hurt for a lot of the season. I think they're likely to improve this year. And, like, for me, when that got to 5.5, I could, my number's 9.5 on this game. So I actually still think at 6.5, it's a good play. That's 3% play for me. I've got a few plays today, so I don't mind giving one on the show. But Colin, if you want some daytime action, I played Columbia -5.5, and I still like it where it is right now. Keith Landry says Columbia was a machine in non-conference play last year. They sure were, right up until they played the University of Albany, I believe, and lost, and their season went off the rails. But they had a great non-conference last year as well. I want to get Rob back in the conversation here. Let's talk about, this is an interesting game and a very interesting line move here. The NC State Wolfpack. Have they already won this game, Rob? Have they already won by 20 is what I want to know, because people are betting this like this game is over. And I'm having a hard time disagreeing with them. But, I mean, at this point, it's getting out of hand. What do you think? UAB, NC State.
Well, I think we needed to talk about it because it's my dear friend Will Wade. He of the FBI wiretaps, the tantrums at LSU, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing we know about Will Wade, I mean, listen, he took his punishment. He went to McNeese and turned McNeese into a tournament team. And now he's at NC State. And talk about guys that just have a knack for getting talent into a program. I mean, Darian Williams and Trey Holloman, Michigan State's point guard last year, Holloman, Williams from Texas Tech. The team is stacked off of these transfers that he brought in here. They score 114 points in their first game against NC Central, play UAB, who lost all 5 of their starters. Andy Kennedy's team, he also did a good job filling spots. He just didn't do it as deeply with high quality recruits or higher echelon recruits. He went to the JUCO, some mid majors, but he got a good squad here, and they score 106 against Mississippi Valley State, who we talked about a couple of days ago. Whether they throw games or not, they're just a miserable basketball team. So 106 to 55 doesn't really matter. But my point about talking about this game here, Adam, wasn't necessarily to go ahead and lay 20.5 with North Carolina State, but rather to just focus in on their team total. This is a game that's going to be played at blistering pace. Andy Kennedy knows no other way. Will Wade likes to play defense, but they score a lot off of their defense. And I think the new backcourt of UAB could be in for a little bit of problem here where pressure defense is concerned, handling against the pressure defense. I saw this number, guys, and I'm going to try and look at it right now as I speak. I thought their team total was 91.5. And to me, in a game like this, 91.5 seems a little, it's hard to say a little low. It sounds kind of weird to say that, but to me it does. I can see NC State potentially hitting the 100 mark in this game against UAB, where, you know, UAB's only form of retaliation is to run back at you. And I just don't know that he's got the quality ball handlers, Andy Kennedy. It's great to beat Mississippi Valley and get to 106, but I don't think you're getting there against NC State. And it's just such a major step up in class for them as an offensive team or as a ball handling team. I think NC State, if I had one look in this game, it would be towards this team total over, which, as I see right now, is, well, yeah, 91.5, right? Is that what you guys are showing? I think they get to 92 or better. So purpose for bringing that game up, A, was Will Wade and his recruits, which he recruited at maybe a better level than anybody in the offseason, and B, the pace this game's going to be played at. NC State should get over that total.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't be surprised if NC State just drops 100 and wins by 30. My buddy Corby went to UAB, and we were talking about it the other day. Like, I don't think he's like overly high on them this year, which, you know, he's a pretty keen basketball mind, especially, you know, from a betting perspective. So if that's how his take on his team, I kind of got to lean that way as well. And also, I mean, Brian, I mean, you know, Missouri Valley State, hey, we reviewed the tape. Yes. You guys are fine. You're just awful. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what, I think the only thing they're guilty of is being a terrible, terrible basketball team. I mean, right. I mean, it's the thing. There's only one place to find them every year, and that's at the bottom of the Ken Palm rankings every year without fail.
So that's
Adam. I left out maybe the most important thing I should have led with after you went through your Columbia analysis. I'm actually probably I would say maybe the only person you'll ever meet that actually attended the University of New Haven, a New Haven Charger, in West Haven, Connecticut, back in 1979, my freshman year. So, yeah, known for their baseball and a Hall of Fame head coach, and Porky Vieira is what his nickname was. And he cut me. I had two swings up at the plate. I hit the second one was a ground ball mix. That was on the cutlass. So that was the end of that. But yeah, New Haven, University of New Haven, near and dear to my heart.
Awesome. That's a new member to the NEC, which has basically become the conference you go to when you want to come to Division I from Division II. It's like the feeder conference. It's like the transition league now, the Northeast Conference, pretty much. Most of those teams just came to D1 a couple of years ago, and New Haven is the newest installation in that, you know, in that league. So it'll be fun to see them and see how they compete in there this year. But I don't think today is a great spot. We're 35 minutes into the show. We don't have a parlay leg yet, so I'm going to put Brian Power on the spot and see if he knows what he wants to use for the parlay.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. By the way, breaking news: Titan CT apparently also went to New Haven. I mean, did not have.
Hey, you know, all right.
Did not have two New Haven alums there. Wow, in the same place. That's crazy. All right, but Trigg, you teed me up. Yes, just to recap, if you're new here, if you missed the beginning of the show, yesterday we won our parlay of the day again, third time in 4 days to kick off, or dare I say, tip off the season. Very impressive here on Full Court Press. Make sure you smash that like button, guys. We appreciate the support, and click subscribe as well. Yesterday, my leg was Ohio, the alma mater. No bias there. I thought it was a good spot. I thought it was a good buy low, sell high spot. And I found Trigg and Rob, a matchup on today's board that reminds me a lot of the play yesterday on OU. Let's talk about Troy and Furman. Furman, not a good opening game performance. They get blown out by 26 against High Point. Trigg, I think you talked about that yesterday or the day before, that maybe the SoCon is going to be down this year. A lot of the contenders there. Certainly, look, you don't want to lose your opener by 26 points. No one does. I will point out, though, Furman, wrong end of turnover variance that game, 22-6. So they had problems holding on to the basketball, and they were not forcing turnovers either. Now they're taking on a Troy team. What did Troy do in its opener? Well, they went to Kent State and won outright in overtime. We talk about, obviously, still early in the year, okay, but, you're off an overtime game. You win in overtime. I always kind of think it's a letdown spot next time out, especially because a Troy team, guys, that was not good at shooting the three last year. In fact, Troy was quite bad at shooting the three last year. We're talking about bottom 25 in the country in three-point percentage last season. Well, they went 12 of 26 against Kent State. That was the difference in that game. Also, back it up a few seconds ago, I talked about how Furman was on the wrong end of turnover variance in the opener against High Point. Well, this is a Troy team that turned it over a lot last year as well, in addition to not being a good three-point shooting team. You add all this up. Let's buy low on Furman. Let's sell high on Troy. There is a rogue 1.5 out there at FanDuel, Trigg, I'm seeing. But in the interest of fairness, let's go 2.5 here.
I was going to say, Brian, something we talked about on Total Bases, because it's a 3-teamer, if you want to go money line, that works too. I mean,
That's a good point. You know what? Let's just do that here. Let's do that. Let's go Furman money line for my leg of the parlay. Thank you very much.
You're not really taking a bad number because, even though Brian Leonard would argue that he's like, it's still the same odds in the parlay, but it's like the way I look at it is it's like, we're building a 3-teamer. We're going to have plus money on the parlay anyway. So if you don't want to take a bad number right there, just go Furman on the money line. And I'll just throw one thing out on that game. If someone's going to adjust from I do want to cut Furman a little bit of slack for sort of how that game played out. That was a neutral site game as part of the Field of 68 sort of opening thing. I think we saw sloppy play in some of those other games as well. So it's like their guards just turned it over a ton. It was just a very sloppy performance where they got down and kind of got down big. And I feel like they just could never get back into the game. But Richie's as good of a coach as they're going to find. And to me, Troy, they've got the talent and they can pressure the ball as well. It's going to be a good matchup, but he's one coach where I've over the years, I sort of trust him to tweak some things, right the ship. And I think someone, maybe it was Keith. That's our buddy Keith Bayou Bets Landry. I'm going to pull his comment up here because I have no opinion on that. But if you need to know something about Southeast Louisiana basketball, Keith is your guy. So we'll read that off. But I think he told me Furman's got a new arena that they're opening tonight. Is that true?
Yes.
Is there any truth to that?
Yes, that is true. That is true. So yes, the new arena bump.
Yeah. Hey, it is kind of listen, I'm going off the top of my head, but I'll like Tarleton State tomorrow night because they open their new arena at home. I know Fairfield, when they opened their new one, destroyed whoever they were playing. I think Baylor, when they opened at Foster Pavilion, won by 40 against Cornell. So listen, new building, you've had a chance to practice in it. The other team may have been practicing somewhere it's a thing. I think there's something to that. I'll give Furman a slight bump for that.
All right.
And Keith, he says, I got one for y'all. I fully expected him to say y'all as well, but Southeast Louisiana, ULL under 137.5. I'm literally just reading his comment because these are teams that I would be texting him about anyway. He says Lafayette hired, so that's actually Louisiana. I don't think we call them Lafayette anymore. But Louisiana hired a Houston assistant who will bring that tough defensive style to Lafayette, and SELA does not have a lot of scores. This could be a rock fight, 65-61. I know Rob kind of likes the new coach in a new place angle. Thank you, Keith. I have zero to add to that, but I trust your handicap there. And so if you were looking for that game, that is your that's going to be your opinion. A little guest handicap for Mr. Bayou Bets. All right, let's go back to the chat. We will lock into parlay legs over the next 20 minutes. You know what? I'll go to Rob. Do you have any idea what you want to use yet, or have you looked? Have you decided?
Well, I haven't decided, but I think we should throw this game out there, Adam, because probably all three of us will have. It's one of the better games of the night. Utah State VCU on a neutral in Frisco, Texas. Phil Martelli Jr., the new head coach at VCU, and man, did they play Bryant style fast in that first game. VCU again, pressure filled, up and down the floor. Utah State, a team that returns a whole batch of starters off a 28-6 team, and they can shoot it a little bit. Utah State's one of those that lives by the NBA Boston Celtic theory, volume threes, analytics, chuck up the threes, and they've got guys that can make them. They don't play at the same exact pace as VCU, but to get over a number like this, you don't necessarily have to have two fast-paced teams if the one that's a little more methodical is so efficient offensively, which is what Utah State is. One thing that worried me, guys, real quick here, and I think this will change tonight. Utah State in that opening box score, you'll find that they only shot 9 free throws. Again, it was a cakewalk type game. But when you play VCU, it just seems like everybody lives on the foul line. Like VCU plays fast and fouls. You foul them because you can't keep up, et cetera, et cetera. You get a lot of points generated from the free throw line on top of the points that you're going to get off of layups, off of threes, et cetera. So this game, to me, it's been bet up a little bit, 161.5. And again, neutral rims sometimes, sight backlines, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, that's sort of become a thing of the past. That used to work in a lot of instances, but nowadays these kids tend to shoot lights out no matter where they are. I think this game might get over here, guys. I'm not going to use it as the parlay leg. I sort of lean toward Utah State as a side just because they're the more cohesive group. Phil Martelli's brought transfers into that program, and they played well for him right off the bat. They'll play quick, but I think sometimes quick can lead to that one or two extra mistakes that cost you a game that's priced in this price range. So I do think it gets over. That would be my first look. And then secondly, I'd probably look towards Utah State, but that should be a tremendous game.
Yeah, I mean, VCU pressed a lot in that opening game. So it looks like you're going to get the Phil Martelli, Bryant sort of craziness, but keeping some of the principles of like VCU basketball, heavy pressure, havoc style play. Yeah, my number was pretty much on the nose with I had Utah State -1.5. I believe it opened 2. That's probably right about where it is. So that is a neutral court in Frisco, Texas. Likely no play for me, but that will be a great watch. That's definitely one to tune into. All right, Cody, can we get a breakdown in the Wake Forest game? So this is one where it's like I just kind of like default to Brian on these types of games because I feel like we've seen these quite a bit where it's like heavy favorite. They're at home. Kind of tough to find a way at these like 20+ point favorites. Now, I will point out this is a rare occurrence where the dog has taken some money. Looks like this one opened 21.5, now down to 18.5 some places, but the over has gone the other way. It's actually gone up. So I've got nothing there. Brian, anything? You've been good in the team totals in these types of games, but I don't know if that's one that
I was going to say, based on the market, I think you just want to look at Morehead, maybe team total over. I mean, they're going to have to put points on the board if they're going to cover this number, right, guys? I mean, that's just common sense. It is interesting when you see, because normally, I mean, a lot of these games we've talked about this week early, it's been, favorite and over have sort of been correlated here. It's sort of a different situation. So all I can tell you is that the market is telling you that Morehead, might be putting up some points here. Let me do a little more deep digging on this one, and I'll see if I can put some facts to that mindset here. But that it's pretty clear that that's what the market is saying on that game. Let me just take a look here at the box scores and see if I can come up with anything else for you.
Yeah, and while you're doing that one, I'm gonna go to Jake's sort of question. He says Longwood to cover. I listen. Any bet against Pitt right now, I'm pretty much fine with. I thought that the only issue I have here is that I'm not nearly as high on Longwood this year as I was last year or the last couple of years. So Griff Aldrich, Longwood head coach, left in the offseason to join his college roommate, I believe, college buddy, Ryan Odom at Virginia. So Longwood basically was one of those school programs that kind of lost their head coach. I don't think they really expected to, but he said, I'd rather be an assistant at Virginia and do that with my boy Ryan Odom. And so they've got a new coach, and I'm just not as nearly as I felt like they were going somewhat in the wrong direction last year. That was a team that I feel like underachieved a little bit. So like when I look at Pitt and they managed to beat Youngstown State by 15, to me, like I'd much rather have Youngstown State than Longwood. Yeah, I'm only getting like another point in this game. Now, I know it opened 17. I would have probably leaned toward Longwood at the opening number of 17, but you're down to 15 and a half, 16. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't take the favorite there. I think Pitt could be really bad this year. So it would be dog or pass. Just wanted to get a thought out on Longwood right there.
Just real quick, Morehead shot the lights out, and now they played Midway University. Troubling is that they gave up 56% shooting in that game as well. If you're giving up 56% to a non-D1 opponent, that's bad. That does worry me a little bit about the defense. Now, the Wake Forest game got to 162 despite 27% three-point shooting from both teams, them and American. So I definitely can understand why the over's taking money here. Again, Morehead State, the thing that would worry me is the defense here. So, I guess I would just circle back to the Morehead team total. Maybe that's what the market's saying.
Steve Duke, yeah, Longwood is in Farmville, Virginia, and it is from what I hear, I believe Aaron Kidd's been to a couple games there. It is a gorgeous campus, and they have a beautiful, like, very new arena. It's on my list to get down to. But yeah, Longwood and Farmville, Virginia, and a good chance to promo ourselves. I'm gonna go. I'll let Brian do the sales part, but I'll say this. I'll say, you see how I put you on the spot there?
Yes.
I'll let you do the sales part. But for Slick Vic, Kansas UNC was what we opened the show with. And if you've missed the show to this point, we are on demand. And so head on over to the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And while you're there, if you could like and subscribe, we would be great. We'd be very much appreciative of that, because we're just trying to run it up. We want to get this show super popular, and as many likes and subscribes as we can get helps us make sure this show sticks around all season. So over to Brian.
And if you do miss the show live, it's okay. You can always ask us drop a comment, drop a question in the comments section. Pardon me. Rob, Adam, and I will be perusing the comment section as the day goes on, so we can get back to you just in case you missed the show live. Again, Monday through Friday, no show on Saturday. I know some of you will be disappointed, but that's just the way it is. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. I'll just, obviously looking ahead to the weekend, guys. The weekend for football does take place. This is a college basketball show, but we always do want to plug the Weekend Warrior Pass, $49. You can get all three of us. It's $49 each. You get our entire Saturday college football card, entire Sunday NFL football card, and as a added bonus, you get Monday Night Football free of charge. I'll be loading all of my football plays here this afternoon when I am done with the best betting show ever, as I'm guesting there with Joe Ranieri after here. So
I'm like, this is like when we're at, you're at dinner and it's your time to order. And I want to look at the menu for another minute. So I'm going to Rob and I'm going to put him on the spot and tell him that we need a parlay leg from him so I can think for another 5 minutes. So,
all right. I had a couple here in mind, guys. The first one we've already talked about, and it was the NC State game where I just feel like Will Wade will pour it on. But I think I'm going to defer to another team total here. We've seen so many 100-point outputs from power teams and just sheer blowouts to start the season. And one that hits me here is Kentucky Valpo. Valpo's coming in with 11 new players into Rupp Arena. Mark Pope has the roster his way this year. Kentucky's very highly rated. Their team total is excessive tonight. The best you can find is 94.5. Moreover, you'll find 95.5. But to me, this game, I mean, Kentucky might put together a 60-point half in this game. So for me, I think I'm going to pass on the North Carolina State game as far as their team total, and roll with UK over Valpo. The total here, guys, again, I'm seeing mostly universal 95.5. Guys, shop it though, because I do see a couple of stray 94.5s out there. 96 to me doesn't seem like that big of a deal the way we've seen these up-tempo teams knock over the 100 mark. On, I would say, a consistent basis, but on a more consistent basis than what I've seen in past years. I've never seen this many hundreds put up. So give me Kentucky team total, guys, as our second leg of the parlay over. And I'll use the universal number, 95.5. Good luck to others who are going to search for it, because you can find 94.5.
Rob, I mean, there's something to be said for, like, you got a fresh team. You've been practicing for a couple months. You're just excited to get out there. And I do feel like these first games out, you tend to see like the team like Kentucky drop 100. I mean, Texas Tech did it for the other night without like their two best players. It was just like, Florida State kept their starters in a little longer to really run it up and get over 100. So yeah, I still think we're in the time of the season where it's like, you're probably going to see those triple digits. It's, a couple weeks from now, you might see them pump the brakes. You might see them get reserves in these situations, but I just think it's too early in the year, and they just want to go show out for the fans a lot of times. So
yeah, and I saw an interview the other night, Adam, post game, and I forget which team it was. So it was a team that scored over 100, and the quote from the player was, "We're just sick and tired of playing each other in practice."
Yeah,
to your point, right? We just want to get out there and beat the heck out of somebody else, and unfortunately for Valpo, they're going to march in, what's projected to be the worst roster in the Missouri Valley this year. So I think Kentucky may take out, and they play with enough pace and enough defensive pressure to probably get them to 96 here. So that'll be my end of it today.
All right. I'm just going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to throw the Siena Saints into the parlay. I've got my shirt. I'm ready for game day. They are at Brown tonight. And so I think I have 3 client plays already locked in. I did give you one on the show earlier. And to be perfectly honest, like, I probably would have put Columbia in the parlay if it wasn't a 1:00 game, but also that number moved a little bit. And I think, Steve Duke in the chat's kind of saying like, you might be able to get a better number in play. Like, yeah, like I don't really want to put like a bad number in there. And then also a bad number that like people coming to the show and watching it at 3 p.m. the game's over. So I'll use the alma mater. Brian Power got it done with his alma mater last night with Ohio. So I'm going to go Siena. We'll use the money line. It's like minus 135 is what I'm seeing a lot of places. And like, here's the deal. They're at Brown tonight. They opened as a slight underdog, which I thought was ridiculous. And that was quickly gone. So my number is right in line with where the market is right now. I have Siena -2, and that's where the number is. I think if this went back to pick, I might add this to my client card. But the reality is this. Siena is just so much better than they were last year. I think the market is – I don't think people really know how good this team is. I think they're so much better than anyone's giving them credit for. We talked about them on Monday. I had Bryant, like, alums and fans in my mentions on Monday. Haven't heard from them since, because that was a bloodbath. Not even close. People saying Bryant going to win that game. Wasn't even close. Brown is worse, in my opinion, than they were last year. Now, still a very well-coached team, but remember, like, Keno Lilly was really that team, like he carried them. And I think Brown has sort of, go back to that Brown team from 2 years ago. You had Keno Lilly. You had Owasu Anane, who ended up, I think, at like Grand Canyon. The kid that's at St. Louis now. Some really good talent has left that team in the last couple of years. And I think they're actually probably you're probably going to see them finish closer to the bottom of the Ivy. One thing that, like, again, is not being accounted for. Tasman Goodrick, Siena's new big. He's tremendous. He looked awesome against Bryant. They've got the guards. I truly believe Siena's just going to be a moneymaker until the market catches up. And I don't think they've caught up yet. Even they're catching up in real time, moving this from like Siena +2 to -2. But again, like, that game last year, Siena won on their home floor. They came back and won that game. And I just think last year's Brown team was better than this year's. This year's Siena team is much better than last year. So we'll go Siena money line and see if the boys can get it done tonight. We have 5 minutes left. I'll throw this. So Jace, I'll give this to you guys. I don't know if anyone will have an opinion here, but I know this is in Rob's sort of region. So he's just asking a general question. Thoughts on Delaware this year? And it's an interesting question because they moved to a new conference. They play a D2 school, I think, today. But like, Rob, I have them at the bottom of their new league. I'm not expecting much from them. I didn't know if you had a take since you're in that region.
Yeah, real quick on Delaware. It's definitely going to be a down year, according to most local, media here. But, again, with these teams like Delaware, first of all, I think the jump, we saw it in football. They're somewhat competitive, and they're not good enough to win games yet. It could be the same deal with Delaware here. I'm interested to see what price range they're going to be held in by odds makers, Adam, because that'll make all the difference in the world. What we do is around numbers more than specifically talent. So as a very, very vague outlook on Delaware, it's a lower echelon conference team. It's a team that can, in underdog roles, be bet on this year. We'll see how it goes first couple games out. But beyond that, it's hard to tell with them right now. They've been better in the past, and they've been higher scoring in the past. I think that's the biggest key here, is they probably won't be as high scoring. Real fast, I want to just throw a tidbit out to you guys. Worst road trip of the night here. I got to give it to Chattanooga. Who goes to Moraga, California to go play St. Mary's in that gym against Randy Bennett's team with 0 starters back? And it's interesting, in a couple of preseason publications, you'll find Chattanooga listed as the top team in the Southern without any starters coming back. But their style doesn't fit what St. Mary's is going to do to them. And going to that place and looking at that gym, they're going to be like, where? Not that they play in these huge arenas in the Southern, but Moraga is a different place.
Rob, I had a little tidbit written down about that game. Colin Mulholland did not play in their opener. And I don't know why or what he was held out for, but if he is not on the floor tonight for Chattanooga, they are in big trouble. And
team total under?
The one thing I'll say about St. Mary's, though, is like, if you cannot get them out of what they want to do, you're 100% losing by double digits. It's like, go ask St. Thomas how that worked out.
Right.
So, yeah.
Game has pushed at him from 12.5 to 14.5 in favor of St. Mary's.
Yeah,
which could indicate the injury still exists for Chat.
And I say 65.5 is that team total for Chattanooga. I could see them being held under that number. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, although with Mulholland out, they're probably gonna give up quite a few points, but like that will allow St. Mary's to do what they want to do, which typically lends itself to the game staying under, because it's like, they're just gonna slow it down. They're gonna be efficient. I'm sure Chattanooga will struggle to score. Rob, I'm glad you brought that up because it's a tough trip. And if you go into that game without your best big, I think you're in a little bit of trouble. So we are up against it. I know Brian has another show right at 11 o'clock. So I am going to read off the parlay, and we're going to get out of here.
Working me like a dog.
Yeah, I believe. Are you on with Prez at 11? Are you doing that show?
I know my good, close personal friend Joe Ranieri will be on. I'm not sure who else is going to be on today, but as long as it's Joe.
In for him.
Yeah, yes.
So go see if you can find BP on that show, which I think goes live in like 90 seconds. So I'm gonna get out of here. We'll sign off. We'll see if we can make it 4 3-teamers out of 5 days in a week, which is insane, but we're gonna go for it. We have Brian Power on Furman money line. I'm gonna be on Siena money line. And then we've got a team total over for Rob in the Kentucky game. That's Kentucky team total over 95.5. It's plus 470 odds. So Siena money line, Furman money line, Kentucky team total over 95.5. We have concluded the first week of Full Court Press. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. Hey, come join us to come watch the show. We want to run it up on the numbers and continue to promote the show. As always, you can find our stuff at wagertalk.com. You'll find me and Brian out driving around
Yes.
Ohio tomorrow. So if you're in the area, hit
All
us
around.
up.
Arkansas,
And,
Michigan State at night.
Arkansas, Michigan State will be in the building in East Lansing, and we'll see you guys Monday morning. Have a great weekend, everyone.